Look at the leaves. I'm so sorry, but I don't know what is happening. This is the latest leaf that was unfurling. It's gone. Hey, good morning guys. This is Dennis. Welcome back to my channel, Guy with a Plant. In today's episode, I'm going to be looking at some plants that require my immediate attention because they are really doing very badly, struggling. If I don't do anything about it right now, they are probably not going to make it. So let's bring out the plants and see what we can do about it. Alright, let's take out the first plant over here. It's really growing in a very awkward manner. Okay. Alright, so this first plant is this epipremnum aplicimum. Look at the way it's growing, and this super long area root. It looks as if it's trying to crawl out of the pot. And the way it's growing as well, the growth structure is just literally drooping down because I've left this unattended for like the longest time, and I'm glad it's still giving out new leaves, but this is not the best position for it. So what I'm going to do is to remove this, and also it looks as if it's crawling off the pot because I think it's in this less than optimal potting medium, which is made out of mainly yellow clay, which is not the best for it because this yellow clay is really very dense and it compacts really easily, which is totally not suitable for an aroid. Yes, this epipremnum is an aroid, so yes, I need to change the potting medium and I need to give it a pole to climb up, which I'm definitely sure it will appreciate. Okay, let's get this out of the pot and take a look at the roots. I hope they are still okay. Yeah, look at this. This leaf has rotted off at the patio, so it's not going to make it. I'm going to cut this off in a while. But first, let's take the plant out of this pot. Usually, I'm just going to give it a good squeeze. Look at all this clay at the... It's almost like clay. I'm sure it's not a clay, but it's some kind of garden soil. Yeah, the base is really wet. It's retaining too much water. But surprisingly, the roots are still in pretty good condition. So maybe it's really loving the moisture. This is supposed to be the silver variety, silver stripes, but it has lost that silvery variegation. So I hope once it's growing properly, it will give out those silver leaves. But there's no rot at all along these super long strands of roots. It's really juicy and healthy and bouncy. I don't know, maybe I should just retain some of this potting medium, mix part of it into the aroid mix. I got it almost this size, and I kind of let it die out due to underwatering, and it died down to a leafless stump. So I rehabbed this, I think in one of my videos. Now it's coming back to normal and it's looking pretty good except for the way it's growing. And look at this, actually I can cut right in the middle to get two plants. Because I'm not sure if I can actually put this whole plant on a pole. We'll try that later. Okay, let's cut off this leaf that is just dangling there. Try to see if I can pull this up as a single plant. My aroid mix, and I'm going to mix this with the existing soil, garden soil. So the existing pot is about 8 cm across. I'm getting this terracotta pot, which is a recycled one. You see it's still quite dirty. So this is about, I would say, 12 cm. Oh wait, yeah, I am going to use this pole. This is not a moss pole, I DIY'd it. It's made out of 2 wooden stakes, and I just use a twine to twirl it around. Just going to fill out a quarter of this pot and put in this pole. So I'm going to flush this pole to the side of the pot. So let me see if I can maneuver this plant to let it rest on the pole. What I'm going to do is to move this long aerial root into the pot, into the potting medium. So the roots are all in there, looking really nice. Just want to make sure the aerial roots and the new ones as well are touching the pole. I think it'll be easier if I tie the plant to the pole before I fill up the pot. Okay, so the plant is actually tied up and we can top out the pot. Alright, and this is done. So the aerial root, the long aerial root is buried inside, and hopefully this will grow more vigorously. So don't worry about the direction of the leaves. They will actually grow in a more natural manner in time to come, especially in the direction of the light. Right, I'm going to give it some water. The next plant that we're going to look at that requires my immediate attention is this Alocasia dragon scale. This is now a plant with 2 leaves. It has definitely seen better days. So at its former glory, this Alocasia has had about 8 or 9 leaves and it was really beautiful. This is actually a pretty pest-resistant Alocasia. And recently it has mini bugs as well. For almost 3 years that it's with me, it didn't have any pests at all. So it's quite puzzling. And yes, now it has only 2 leaves and is still struggling. I suspect that that may be root rot. So let's remove this plant and take a look. Let's take a closer look at the remaining 2 leaves. Yellowing around the margins and it feels really soft, even though I've watered this yesterday. So something is not quite right, like this leaf as well. It's starting to turn yellow. And if you look from the back, definitely can see the yellowing. So I just want to check on the roots and figure out what is wrong. I see that there are actually growth points along the stem. So maybe I will chop off these 2 leaves and do a stem propagation. But before that, let's get this guy up. This is actually in this net pot, which is pretty well draining, as well as I would say a pretty airy potting mix with lots of perlite, as you can see, and cocoa chips. Hopefully the roots have not rotted off. Right, I got to remove the roots from this mesh. This was placed there to prevent the potting medium from dropping out. But unfortunately, the roots have grown into this. I got to maybe cut this off. The roots are generally okay, with some, as I suspected, rotted off. See, it comes off really easily. So I'm just going to trim some of the roots, but first let me remove this. Well, this is impossible to get up without cutting. Look at this. Actually, I'm not sure what is this. Is this a new growth or a root? It looks like a root, but it's growing upwards. Okay, the stem is still pretty hard, so that's a good sign. So what I'm going to do first is just to trim off those roots that are not doing well. And I see there's a new growth point here as well. Whoa, the roots are really long. Alright, before I repot this, I want to check the soil for corms, if there are any. That'll be exciting. So this dragon scale has been with me for almost 3 years, I would say. It came to me pretty small. I think it was only a 2-leafer. Now it's still a 2-leafer. But it has grown quite nicely until now. I actually placed some sphagnum moss in there, which I think I should remove. You know what? I don't think there is any corms, even after so many years. I've repotted this once. The stem has this L-shaped growth. What I'm going to do is to cut off these 2 leaves. It's going to cut the trunk into half and get them potted up individually. So I'm just going to make sure that each part has some roots for it to be viable. I wonder, should I cut off at this point totally, or maybe just here? So should I leave this part? I'm not sure. There's actually some growth points along the stem, so maybe I can just cut this off. Oops, I misjudged the cut. This chunk has no roots, but I think it should be able to survive. So this is the one with tons of roots. I'm just going to put it in the potting medium, potting mix upright. Yeah, in fact, I think I'll just pot both together. I'm going to use a smaller pot. This is slightly smaller than this. I'm going to recycle the potting mix just in case I miss out some of the corms. And I've removed all the sphagnum moss. Okay, this one goes in first with lots of roots. Oh hey, I found a corm. Any more? Okay, at least there's one corm. So I'm going to put this aside and propagate it separately. You know what? I think these are roots. So I should be placing this downwards. So after 3 years, I already found one corm. That is really sad. Okay, so this is done. I don't have the habit of letting the cut points callus over. I hope it's okay. But so far it has been okay. Please don't get infected. Yeah, so there are 2 chunks in there and I'll keep you guys updated. Right, so for the corm, I'm just going to throw it into a prop box, which I already had sun cuttings going on. Alright, for the next plant, I'm pretty sure I may not be able to save this. As you can see, this leaf is totally gone, and the new leaf that came out that was unfurling has, dried up. So I think there's something wrong with the roots for sure. This is the Philodendron gloriosum. Let's take this out. So as we are moving this, the leaf just dropped off. And the existing leaf is also yellowing. Yeah, but these dots here are actually due to the extra floral nectarine. As the way this gloriosum has grown, I reported this a few months ago, I think. I had a video. You can watch that if you want to. It was doing very well, but the pot was really small. Because I thought this is a crawling philodendron, it may need some space to actually crawl. So I gave it a rectangular planter. But look at all the roots. I think because the roots are really drying up, it's not doing that great. And look at the way it has grown. It's literally growing, crawling out of the planter again. I mentioned this is the latest leaf that was unfurling. The unfurl is gone. Okay, why do I suspect there are actually no roots? There's roots. Okay, the sun is not so strong anymore, so I actually raised the blinds. So the lighting is a little bit different now. Okay, look at this gloriosum. I'm so sad because this was growing so well. Let's try to save this. I got this gloriosum as a baby plant as well. It was really small and it was only a 2-leafer. And I think it was when gloriosum was still considered a rare philodendron. Not anymore. Again, I watered this yesterday. So yeah, the potting medium is pretty wet. You know, I had a spider mites outbreak a few months back, and some of my plants were damaged by them, so not good, especially this gloriosum, which is really prone to spider mites. So I guess it kind of weakened the overall condition. Yeah, some of the roots are really not good. Most of them have rot. I'm going to trim off some of the roots. You know, root rot can happen if it gets too dry as well, and you reintroduce water into the potting mix, and you know, the roots are unable to absorb it, so that will cause rot as well. It's not always a case of overwatering. So the main root is actually pretty firm. Oh look, there's a new growth actually coming out here. I'm not sure whether can it make it if I cut this off. Most of the roots are at this end of the stem, as you can see. So this one will have no issue growing. My main concern here is this part. So just like the Alocasia dragon scale, I don't think I want to keep this leaf. Look at this, the stem is growing downwards and then the leaves are going upwards this way. So it's really in a very awkward position. Not sure how am I going to cut this. Yeah, let me think about it. Okay, let me cut off the petal first. Whoa, I really love the smell of philodendron. Smells so good. I'm going to remove as much as I can all these dried up bits, because this is where the pests will hide. You can see there's a lot of growth points along the stem, so I'm sure this cut will actually activate some of the growth points. This is a super long stem. I'm just going to chop it out into different chunks and propagate it in sphagnum moss. So make sure you get some nodes in each chunk. Last part is the one with a lot of roots. It looks almost like an old ginger. And I managed to get some chunks from this, plus the one with the leaf and a new one coming out. I'm not sure what to do with this. I'm still not sure whether do I want to cut off this leaf. Let me put them in moss and I'll show you in a while. I've washed my hands, but I still smell like philodendron. Okay, so this is the chunk with a lot of roots. I potted it in an aeroid mix, brand new one, because I'm not sure what's with the old potting medium, so I do not want to take the risk. And this is the one with a single leaf and a new leaf that was growing out. I put this in moist sphagnum moss and try to root it. I've decided to keep the leaf because I think it's still giving it nutrients to the plant. I don't think it will survive in the long term. Individual leafless chunks are here, all 5 of them. I've placed them in moist sphagnum moss as well. So remember to subscribe to my channel if you want to be updated on their progress. Alright, next is this pot of Anthurium, this really sad looking one. Right, this is an Anthurium hybrid. Whoa, look at all these leaves. I don't know what's happening. I think at one point I may have overwatered this. Yeah, this looks like a sign of overwatering, dryness with this yellow ring. This one as well. In fact, all the leaves have these yellow rings around the dry parts. But it's in this very loose potting medium, so I thought it should be okay. I do not water them very frequently, maybe just once a week, or even slightly longer than that. I will probably cut off most of the leaves. This is a cross between Clarinervian and pterodactyl. Hopefully there are still roots. Okay, the roots are actually okay, really chunky. Okay, there's a bunch of them that are rotten, so I can cut this whole thing off here. So these roots are bad. You can see new roots coming out here, and there's a new growth point here. The potting medium is actually okay, mainly burnt rice hull, but it's really retaining quite a fair bit of water. You can see some of the roots here, dead roots. So I think it's a little bit too wet for its liking. I'm going to keep all these nice big chunks of perlite. Okay, I'm going to recycle this pot, but I'm going to use new potting medium, my trusty aeroid mix. Okay, so the remaining roots are healthy. Okay, I'm going to cut off all the leaves because I suspect that they may probably be infected by the previous spider mites outbreak, and they are not in the best condition for sure. This is the biggest one. You know what? I'm going to keep 2 of these leaves to help to photosynthesize. I'm just going to put all these chunky palmers and perlite at the base. Actually, if you want to be safe, you should soak the roots in hydrogen peroxide solution just to get rid of any other nasties. I'm not doing it. Alright, I've repotted this, cut off most of the leaves except for 2. I'm going to actually spray this plant down with some insecticide, just in case. And of course give it some water. So once this gets better, I'm going to put some sphagnum moss on top as a top dressing to give it some added humidity. Okay, and finally the last plant, which is a very sad looking one, as you can see. Yeah, look at this leaf, and the rest of the leaves are struggling. So I'm not going to do anything about it today. I'm just going to show you how bad this looks, but it's not without hope. Oh yeah, this is actually an Anthurium vittariifolium. It was growing super well for me until this happens. So yeah, let's bring this down. Alright, so I have this Anthurium for a few years now, and it started off as really tiny seedlings. I'll put a photo up here, you can take a look. I think that was about 3 years back, and for the longest time it was growing really slowly. And then started to have a growth spurt, and yeah, I started to have these really long and nice leaves. So the seedlings actually yielded 2 pots. This is one of them. I sowed the other one when I moved, and this one was growing really well. It had multiple long luscious leaves. I think it had about 8 or 9 of these leaves at one point, so it was really beautiful. This started to happen, and some of the leaves are turning yellow as well. At one point, I had a spider mites outbreak, and this was one of the plants that suffered. It lost a lot of leaves, so yeah, it didn't really recover. And a few weeks ago, I noticed that the joints here, this part of the leaf, started to turn brown, and I know it's going to go downhill from there. So I don't think I can save any of these big leaves. Oh, but the good thing is this vine actually started to give out a new leaf recently, so not all is lost. And also it gave off an offset a few months ago, and it's starting to grow. It looks really awkward at this teenage stage. So what I'm going to do is to cut off all the old leaves, the long ones, and to start to rehab this Anthurium. So I hope I can rejuvenate this. Thank you for watching this episode. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on the progress. So do remember to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Meanwhile, take care. Remember to show your plants some love.